Anyone can do astrophotography. You don't need expensive telescopes or a fancy cooled astro camera or an observatory like this one here to get started into astro. So in fact, the first step to get started might already be sitting in your pocket right now. I'm going to take you through 5 stages of astrophotography, starting with a smartphone on a tripod right through to my fully automated observatory here, and I'm going to show you exactly what's possible at every stage. I'm Simon and you're watching Simon's Astro. So let's get started with the smartphone on a tripod. So I've put my phone on the tripod, and the good thing about these smartphones, especially since 2020, most major brand of smartphone has this feature. The minute you put it on a tripod, it knows that it's perfectly still, and it will allow you to take an exposure up to 30 seconds. So here, this is my iPhone 14 Pro. So what I do, this little arrow here, click that arrow, and then I tap this symbol here, and it gives me my night mode. And here you just slide it to give the maximum amount of seconds. At the moment I can only get 10 seconds because it's still quite bright. But you see, if I point it at a darker area, let's point it over there against the trees. We're now saying 30 seconds. Let's just take a 30-second exposure. So it does depend on how much light is coming into the camera as to how many seconds it will let you do. It's not actually doing one 30-second single exposure. It's actually taking lots of little exposures. Then it's doing a little bit of in-house editing. It's stacking all the exposures together. It's denoising them, and then it's presenting one final image, which looks rather good for a smartphone. But the phone must be on a tripod before the phone will allow you to select these long exposures. Move the background here. But anyway, that's where I want to be pointing it. But as you can see, it's changed the maximum number of seconds I can get. It's 3. It's because I'm pointing at the sky and it's not dark yet. So when it's dark, you'll be able to get the full 30-second exposure. So you can be quite creative with these. So the smartphone is very good for doing time lapses. You can get Milky Way shots with this with a 30-second exposure. But it's quite cloudy at the moment and it's still quite bright, so I won't be getting any Milky Way shots right now. So that's a quick look at the smartphone on a tripod. You can have some fun with that. If you can put the phone into night mode, and as long as it's dark enough, then you can select up to 30 seconds and just play around with it, have some fun. Right, so now let's move on to the DSLR on a tripod. I've got the app on the phone so you can see live what I'm doing. So with just a DSLR on a tripod, this is a normal camera lens. This is a wide angle 16 to 35 f2.8. I'm going to be creative and I plan to do a star trail. So I've pointed the camera roughly at north, and I've aligned the North Star over the top of the church so that the rest of the stars will rotate around the central North Star. So it's going to create a nice circular effect of the stars spinning around the central North Star over the top of the church here. Now obviously the stars are not moving, the Earth is moving, and we'll come on to that on the next rig where you can track the stars, which will keep the stars in the center of the frame and keep them nice and sharp. But because the camera is not tracking, so it's stationary, so the stars are going to appear to move. So to counteract the stars from moving when you're just using a camera and a tripod or not on a tracker, you have to use something called the 500 rule. And what that does is it basically tells you how long you can have the shutter open for, depending on whichever lens you're using. before you start getting streaks. So the 500 rule is a very simple equation. It's basically whatever the focal length of the lens is. In this case, say I'm on 24mm, you divide 24 into 500 and that will give you 20.4 seconds. So you can shoot for 20 seconds, but I would always shoot a bit less. I would go to about 15 seconds. So you know you could shoot with this lens and this camera for 15 seconds comfortably without getting streaks. Your stars will stay sharp. Now that is true with a full frame camera, because 24mm on a full frame camera is 24mm. But if you've got a 24mm on a crop sensor camera, you have to take into account the crop factor. On the Canons, the crop factor is 1.6, so 24mm will become 38mm. So you now have to divide 38 into 500, which is going to give you about 13 seconds. So in that case, I would drop it down to about 10. So it's a simple rule to learn. It's called the 500 rule, and that will tell you how long you can have the shutter open for and still keep sharp stars. This is when you've just got a camera on a tripod without a tracker. But we'll move on to track shots on the next rig. So what are the settings for nighttime photography with a DSLR? Well, there's no hard and fast rule, but I'm going to go through some of the best settings with you now. So the first thing to do is to make sure you've got the camera in the manual mode and set the lens aperture to as wide as you can. And by using exposures of around 10 to 15 seconds, the camera will capture far more stars than your eyes can see. So let me go through some of these settings. So if you were doing a Milky Way shot, for example, I would set the ISO to about 3200. You can play around with that. You could drop it down to 1600 or go up to 6400 depending on the sky conditions. The f number wants to be as wide as you can get it, so in this case it's f2.8, and the shutter speed really wants to be between 10 and 15 seconds. You need to be shooting in RAW and obviously have the camera in manual. And if you want to try and do a time lapse, then the settings would be very similar. You still want to go for a fairly wide aperture. The shutter speed, you can play around with that, vary between 10 to 15 seconds. ISO 1600 to 3200, and you'd want an interval maybe of around 5 seconds. And you'd aim to get as many images as you can. So far we've been keeping the camera completely still, but there's always been one problem. The Earth is constantly rotating. That's why with a camera on a tripod, we're limited to relatively short exposures before stars begin to trail. This is where a star tracker comes in. So this is my SkyGuider Pro with a RedCat 51. This is a small wide field telescope and ideal for this setup. So once the SkyGuider Pro has been polar aligned, it rotates exactly at the same rate as the Earth, at the sidereal speed, but in the opposite direction. So that means the stars are kept perfectly still, and this allows for exposures of several minutes instead of just a few seconds. So setting up the SkyGuider Pro is quite simple. Basically just point it at north and then polar align it. Now I use the Ioptron iPolar, the electronic poloscope. It's very simple to use, and once it's polar aligned, then check the balance. Then you set the camera, switch it on and let it run. So with this setup, objects like the Andromeda Galaxy, the Orion Nebula, the North American Nebula and countless star clusters, they suddenly become achievable. You'll notice they're all pretty big objects, and that's because they're easier to find. Because you don't have a go-to mount, you've literally got to find the targets yourself, and that's done by trial and error. You point the camera at the rough position, take a test shot and have a look and see what you've got. There's no plate solving on this. It's got to be done with apps and a bit of guesswork and a bit of luck. That's why these larger objects are easier to find and easier to capture. And what I like about this setup is you can take it on holiday and it can produce some really stunning images under some dark skies. And this is the starting point for many people into astrophotography. It's affordable and relatively easy to set up once you've learned the basics, and it really opens the door into astrophotography. There are other trackers available, and I have one here, and it is the Move Shoot Move Nomad. Now this is really good for its size, and it's got a very good payload, and it is a really good price. And as you can see, it's very small, and basically you can fit it in your pocket. It really is a very good little tracker, and it will be a very good starting point if you're thinking about getting further into astrophotography. So this is the point where we move into dedicated astronomy equipment. This is the HEQ5 Pro, which is a fully motorized go-to mount. So being a fully motorized go-to mount, you control it with software, and using a planetarium map like Stellarium, you literally choose a target, key in the coordinates, press a button, and away it goes. It will go find the target, and you can image it all night. This is what I love about the go-to mounts. It takes all the stress of trying to find your targets when you're using a tracker. My astrophotography changed so much when I went from a tracker to a full go-to mount. So I'll quickly go over this rig. This is a one-shot color cooled camera. We have a guide scope and a guide camera, and the main scope is the Ascar FRA 400. And in here is the Stellavita, which is the unit which is controlling the rig. And this power box here is SV Bernie SV241. The mount is the Skywatcher HEQ5 Pro. And there's an electronic focuser on here as well, so it keeps everything in sharp focus all night. And the whole thing is being ran by my battery, which is this Jaggery battery that will run this all night. This is the only issue with a rig like this, is not as portable. You have to carry things like this around. You have to take a laptop if you want to use the built-in iPolar for polar aligning. So they are the drawbacks to it, if you like. I mean, it's not really a drawback, but it's not as simple as just having a tracker. But the advantage you get with a go-to mount far outweighs anything else. So this is the next step up. If you want to take astrophotography seriously, this is the way to go. So this mount could be a logical step up from a tracker. There are plenty of other mounts out there to choose from, but this is the one that I've had for 4 years, and it's served me very well. So if you wanted to take your astrophotography to the next level, then you would be looking at a rig very similar to this setup. So before we move on to the next and final stage, if you got this far and you like this video and you want to see more astrophotography content like this, then please consider subscribing, as it really does help the channel. Well, we've gone from a smartphone to a DSLR to a star tracker, and then on to a fully featured Equatorial mount. So what if you wanted to take your astrophotography one step further, and instead of spending an hour each clear night setting up your rig, your telescope was ready to go? And what if it could focus itself, guide itself, change its filters, monitor the weather, and image all night while you're fast asleep? Well, welcome to my observatory. So here we are in my observatory, and you are looking at the EQ6R Pro mount. On top of that is my main rig. This is the Skywatcher Esprit 120 ED. It's a triplet refractor. At the far end, the bottom end of the scope, is my monochrome camera. That's the ZWO 2600 Pro. Attached to that is a 7-position filter wheel, and in there are some 3nm filters. There's an SHO and LRGB set of filters. We have an electronic focuser. There's a guide scope, the Evo Guide 50 ED, and there's a mini guide camera, and everything is being run by the Mealy Quarter 3 mini PC, and installed on that PC is Nina, which is controlling everything. That works with PSD2, and there's also the Cloud Watcher by Lunatico Astro that talks to Nina, and it monitors the sky conditions, and if clouds come over, it will tell Nina to shut the roof during an imaging session. It'll pause everything, it will park the scope, close the roof, and when the clouds have gone, it'll then tell Nina to open the roof again and continue with the imaging session. And the best bit about all of this is, I can control it from anywhere in the world. I can remote in via a Google remote desktop using my phone, and I can be away on holiday. If I know there's a clear sky, I can set this rig up and it will work on its own. I don't even have to be anywhere near it. I can remote in, run an imaging session and collect all that lovely data. So this rig has been fantastic and it's been a joy to use, and just having an observatory, well, it's just been a pleasure. But I've always wanted a bigger scope. Problem is, a bigger scope means a bigger mount. So all I'm going to say is watch this space, because I have purchased a much bigger mount. I'm not going to get it just yet. It's on order, and when it arrives I can have pretty much any size scope that I like. So I'm not going to say anything about it yet, but the mount I've got, I don't need weights. That's a bit of a clue. So watch this space, and if you want to find out what that is, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And thanks so much for watching, and I wish you all clear skies.
I'm a ghost just drifting through the